There are some investing habits that the super wealthy are using to grow their investing portfolios. But here's the catch, they're kind of boring. So I'm going to make a video on it, which is going to be as exciting as possible on these really boring habits that you can channel into your wealth to grow it as much as the super wealthy that you see do. Because I spent years in the industry as a wealth manager seeing these habits implemented day in, day out to really grow the wealth of, as I say, the super wealthy. But I also see it now when researching various different investing strategies, trying to find more and more ways in which people are growing their portfolios, and they boil down to the same kind of set of habits. Because there is loads of noise and confusion online about quick fixes, ways to do it, and lots of different opinions, of course. And it's not to say that those opinions are wrong. I do tend to find that they boil down to relatively similar habits. So stick with me if you're ready to hear these unsexy, boring habits filtered into something relatively, hopefully exciting. Hi and welcome back. My name is Zoe Burt and this is my channel Words on Wealth. I was a former wealth manager turned financial educator because I love all things investing and just dissecting some of the jargon-heavy content into everyday applicable things that you can take into growing your wealth. So it's no fluff, no jargon, it's taking those headlines and investing habits into things that you can apply. Do make sure you like and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos and turn your notifications on because I deliver you a new one on a Monday with the headline breakdowns and on a Friday with all things investing. And if there is anything you'd like to see, join me in the comments section of the videos because I'm always all ears to whatever is helpful for you. So jumping straight into the first habit that I see, which is living within your means. Kind of sounds obvious that it's not really an investing one, it's more of a budgeting and financial management one. But that's why it's so key, because it forms the foundations of what is to come within an investing portfolio. Now, living within your means simply means not spending more than you're earning. And believe me, I've seen plenty of high earners that spend way more than they earn or live paycheck to paycheck because they spend everything that they earn. And what this means is that they're not growing wealth and they're not setting themselves up for financial security in the future. You can use some really simple budget trackers to make sure that you're staying on top of this and keeping aligned with not spending more than you're earning. Sounds obvious, but that is the first boring habit that you can follow. Secondly, it's about managing the savings that you have in cash and then investing the rest. If you're here, probably you're aware that holding money or excessive amounts of money in cash is not great for your financial future and rarely outperforms inflation because the interest rate that you earn on cash is usually not that impressive, whereas investing tends to be a little bit stronger and outperform inflation and really grow your wealth. The reality is that we all need some cash. Firstly, we need our emergency fund, which is around 3 to 6 months of expenses. After that, we need other kind of short-term savings. I'm thinking big holiday, car payments, you get the idea. Anything that's coming up in kind of the next 3 years that you can't then invest that money. Then we have some more savings that might be a bit more of a grey area. If you've got something in that less than 5-year time horizon, which is normally what we say that you need to consider to start investing, then you might still be holding things in a little bit of cash, but hopefully in a slightly more efficient way, either by locking it in for longer or by using a mixture of cash equivalents, such as money market funds, CDs, depending on what is available to you in your country. Now, once you've set up these key savings accounts, what you then need to do is make sure that you invest the rest. Don't fall into the trap of feeling the need for the security of cash and squirreling it and holding it and sitting on it all and not investing it, because this is where you then stagnate your wealth and don't get it to grow. A simple but easy one to solve. Let's go on to the third. This one is all about prioritizing tax efficiency. What I generally see the super wealthy doing is really taking advantage of any tax efficient solutions that they can. Now, we're super lucky here in the UK that we have the likes of the ISAs as well as pensions. And we can also take advantage of the different tax allowances at the end of a tax year, such as a £3,000 a year that you can earn in capital gains and the certain allowance of £500 that you can earn in dividends too. Now, depending on which country you're in will depend what you have access to. The US does have similar solutions with the 401k, the Roth, the IRA. Australia and New Zealand have similar pension solutions with the superannuation and the Kiwi Saver, whilst there are some solutions in the likes of Sweden and Denmark with the ASK and the Action Sparkonto. France has the Assurance Vie, but not every country has a kind of product as like the ones I'm naming, where you can invest in a relatively tax efficient way and it allows those investments to really take off without tax burdens bringing them back. But what you can do is if if you're in a country that doesn't have tax efficient products, or you've used up all the allowances on the tax efficient products that you've got in your country, is just make sure that whatever you're doing isn't excessively penalising your situation. So if, for example, there's a list of funds that are more tax efficient in your country, use them before you start using others. The way that you can find this out is to always go back to the source of information on the tax authority's website in the country in which you live and you pay your taxes. Or indeed, you could also consult some sort of accountant or financial professional who might be able to point you in the right direction. So the next habit is more about the investing focus, and it's all about the core satellite method. I've spoken about this recently in another video, but it's essentially setting your portfolio up so that 80% of it, or 70 to 90, 80 in the middle, is a core. It's low cost, it's just doing its thing, it's chugging on by, and it requires relatively low maintenance. You've then got the remaining 20% in satellites. These are normally higher risk individual investments that help drive potential growth within the portfolio, and whilst all with the knowledge that your core is just doing its thing. So nothing gets too big, too greedy, or indeed overweights the portfolio in any way. It's a system that is tried and tested by many, and it's known for really growing wealth in a portfolio in a way that kind of nicely balances both the payoff of time, because ultimately time is money, as well as costs within the portfolio. Trading excessively can become quite expensive. Which brings me on to my last habit that I see many wealthy people using, and it's set and forget. In fact, the reality is that the vast majority of portfolios out there are done in a way that is quite hands-off. I know that loads of people kind of feel the fear that they're not doing something right if it's not complicated enough, or they feel that their investing should be taken to a new level by introducing more and more colourful graphs. The reality is that what the most efficient and steadily growing portfolios are doing is quite boring and low maintenance. They're just putting it in there, they're checking in every quarter, they're making sure that they rebalance accordingly so that nothing gets too big or too small, but they are not chopping and changing, they are not following the markets daily with their entirety of their portfolio, because they know that that opens them up to fear and greed way too much. It opens them up to their own emotions, and it opens them up to human error, which is frankly always there. So sometimes that boring solution can be the one that actually means that you get to your financial goals sooner rather than later. So there you have it, 5 of the most boring investing and financial management habits that the super wealthy are using and maybe keeping secret, maybe not. Maybe we just don't want to hear them because we actually want the solution to be a bit more complicated. But hopefully you can channel some of them into your everyday financial management. Do make sure that if you've got any questions on how you can put this into your personal situation, you drop them in the comments section. I'm always all ears for answering whatever it is that you might have as a query, and make sure that you're liking, subscribing, and turning on those notifications to get my little video pinged updates into your inbox as well. Thank you so much for joining. Bye for now and see you soon.